Listen to a story, and it will help you never to forget the importance of random acts of kindness. 20 years ago, I drove a cab for a living. When I arrived at 2:30 in the morning, the building was dark for a single light, except for a single light in the ground floor window. Under these circumstances, many taxi drivers would just honk once or twice, wait a minute, and then drive away. But I had seen too many impoverished people who depend on taxis as their only means of transportation to simply drive away. Unless a situation smelled of danger, I always went to the door. The passenger may be someone who needs my assistance, I reasoned to myself. So I walked to the door and I knocked. "Just a minute," answered a frail, elderly voice. I could hear something being dragged slowly across the floor. After a long pause, a door opened. A small woman in her 80s stood before me. She was wearing a print dress and a pillbox hat with a veil pinned on it, like somebody out of a 1940s movie. By her side was a small nylon suitcase. The apartment looked as if no one had lived in it for years. All the furniture was covered with white sheets. There were no clocks on the walls, no whatnots, no knickknacks or utensils on the counters. Over in the corner was a cardboard box stuffed with photos and miscellaneous glassware. "Would you carry my bag out to the car?" she asked. I took the suitcase to the cab and returned to assist the woman. She took my arm. We walked slowly toward the curb. She thanked me several times for my kindness. "Oh, it's nothing. It's really nothing," I told her. "I try to treat my passengers the way I would want my own mother treated." "You're a good man," she said. When we got to the cab, she gave me an address and then asked, "Could we drive through downtown?" "It's not the shortest way," I answered quickly. "Oh, I don't mind. I don't mind," she said. "I'm in no hurry. I'm on my way to a hospice." I looked in the rearview mirror. Her eyes were glistening. "I don't have any family left," she continued. "The doctor says I don't have very long." I quietly reached over and shut off the meter. "What route would you like me to take?" For the next 2 hours, we drove through the city. She showed me the building where she had once worked as an elevator operator when she was a young woman. We drove through the neighborhood where she and her husband had lived when they were newlyweds and then later reared their families. She had me pull up in front of a furniture warehouse that had once been a ballroom where they had gone dancing together. Sometimes she'd ask me to slow in front of a particular building or corner. She would simply sit staring out the window into the darkness, saying nothing. As the first hint of sun was creasing the horizon, she suddenly said, "I'm tired. Let's go now." We drove in silence to the address she had given me. It was a low, simple building like a small convalescent home with a driveway that passed under a portico. 2 orderlies came out to the cab. As soon as we pulled up, they were solicitous and intent, watching her every move. They were expecting her. I opened the trunk, took out the small suitcase, carried it to the door. The woman, already seated in a wheelchair, asked me, "How much do I owe you?" Reaching into her purse. "Oh, nothing," I said, "nothing." "Well, you have to make a living," she answered. "Well, there are other passengers," I responded, almost without thinking. I bent down and gave her a hug. She clung to me tightly. "You gave an old woman a few moments of joy. Thank you." I squeezed her hand and then walked into the dim morning light. Behind me, a door shut. It was the sound of the closing of a life. I didn't pick up any more passengers that shift. I drove aimlessly, lost in thought. For the rest of the day, I could hardly talk. What if that woman had gotten an angry driver, or one who was impatient to end his shift? What if I had refused to take the run, or had honked once and just driven away? On a quick review, I don't think I have done anything more important in all my life. Is it any wonder, after hearing a story like that one of the qualities God expects of His children, that we be people who love kindness?